Today I'm gonna tell you about how powerful it is to recycle your green screen scenes for multiple Blender scenes. What I mean by that is that you can use the same green screen video over and over for different scenes and make it sell seamlessly. For example, I shot this particular video for this particular scene. So I'm just standing there and protecting myself with my coat from this collapsing tower. I gotta say, I'm not particularly proud of this one. It doesn't look awesome, but that's how it started. And after a while, I was working on another scene, a 3D environment scene, and I figured, why don't I put a green screen character in there? And I didn't feel like shooting more footage at the time, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna use the same clip again, because why not? So I did it and nobody asked any questions. Eventually, of course, when I was using the same scene over and over, people were like, are you using the same clip over and over again? And I was like, yeah, I am, but who cares as long as it works. So after that, I made a whole tutorial on how to use green screen in your Blender scenes, and I also used the same clip because it just worked. In this particular video, I was talking about how to use someone else's green screen footage and make a Blender scene with that, because it's all about the lighting, right? Where does the light come from? What kind of light source is it? How can you implement that into your Blender scene that it works actually and doesn't look fake? And then eventually I figured, because it was kind of funny how I was protecting myself with this, leather coat, that it doesn't really make sense. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna bring that to the next level, and I actually shot more footage, more videos where I'm protecting myself with this stupid coat from natural disasters or airplanes crashing and all that kind of stuff. So it became kind of like a running joke here on my channel. But now I want to show you more like a concrete example how I recycled a video. For example, this video, I was just planning to use this video for one particular scene, and it was doing very well on social media. I decided, what if I just use the same scene, not just the same video footage, what if I use the same Blender scene? The only difference is I'm gonna change all the materials and make it a whole different vibe, and that's what I did. Originally, this scene was a sand monster video. A sand monster was attacking me in the desert, and I was protecting myself with my leather coat, of course, which is funny. First, I'm just like half naked, and then I'm putting on the coat just to protect myself. Stupid, I know. But my audience really enjoys that and has lots of comments, sometimes even hate comments, and that cranks up the algorithm, so thank you for that. But anyways, I decided I'm gonna use the same clip to make a water monster, like in the middle of the ocean. I'm standing on a little island, I'm just protecting myself from a water monster, and I use the same scene. But let's walk through it real quick so you understand what I actually did there. So again, originally I was just shooting this clip in mind that I'm getting lit by the sunlight. It's a very strong light source. I'm hit by the sun in the middle of the desert. You can see I'm exhausted and I'm hot, and I should be sweating too, but I'm not. And then of course I had to remove the green screen. And if you want to know in detail how to do that, I recommend to watch this video. I just walk you through this real quick here. So what I do is, to make this effect, I not just remove the green screen out of this video, I am making a black and white mask, and then I'm using this black and white mask to cut out everything what is black and cut in everything what is white to get a result like this. And the cool thing is, I'm not touching the color of my skin at all. This is very important. That's why I have a very particular trick to do that. And again, if you want to know how to do that yourself, go check out the link in the description. I go through the whole process very, very precisely and detailed, so you're not gonna miss a thing. But yeah, once your footage is cut out, I'm rendering it all out with a transparent background, and then I'm gonna go to Blender. And this is basically my scene. This is what it looks like. It's just a desert environment. I downloaded this from Blender Kit. I just typed in desert in here and I got it. If you don't use Blender Kit, I highly recommend it because they have lots of cool models. And this is basically my scene. This is my green screen guy. You can see that he's a 2D image in a 3D environment standing on some rocks. And later on there's like this huge monster in the background. You can see him right here. And I made this sand monster in Embergen. If you don't use Embergen because it costs a lot of money, you can also make a sand monster like this in Blender. I actually made a full guide on how to make a character out of smoke or sand. You can check out the video right here because I go through the whole process in Blender if you don't want to spend money on Embergen, which I understand. It's a lot of money. So now I have this whole scene and it is a basically very simple environment. Like I said, I have my green screen character, like right here. This is my green screen character. Then a few bushes, nothing interesting. I made those bushes very brownish because we're in the middle of the desert. And then I of course have a volume box. So this is where my haze is happening. And you can see also the color of my haze, which is like sandy. And then in the very far background, I do have an image of dunes. So you can see it's just a picture of a desert which I just put into the background just in case you can't see far enough. And I lit the scene with an HDRI of the desert, so it actually is lit properly. And again, I made the scene fully aware of what I was doing, and then a week later it got to me, what if I recycled the exact scene and made this into an ocean, a water monster in the middle of the ocean. So I just copy pasted my Blender file and started changing in little things. And you can see it looks very similar. It doesn't look similar in my final result, but it does look very similar in my viewport. The only difference really is I added rain. I added rain particles coming from the sky. And you can see I added lightning in the background, and that all the lightning is this point light behind those clouds. I added like a cloud here in the background. So instead of the desert image I had before, I have a big cloud here, and behind this cloud I have a point light which you can see is animated. So it's going on and off with a constant interpolation just to make this monster more visible here and there. And the other thing I did is, remember this volume box, I made it a little thicker but also changed the color to something more bluish, and that's just my haze. And for the water I have an ocean modifier on the ground on top of my actual desert. So I still kept my desert in the background just for like rocks or whatever. I didn't even change the color or anything, I believe. No, I didn't. It's just the desert, and you can see it down back here. And that's basically it. And I don't want to say it worked perfectly. The most criticism I got for this scene was that my character was just not wet. Why am I not wet even though it's raining? I'm in the middle of the ocean. That was one big point why people were criticizing the scene a lot. So yes, I should have prepared this better. If I restarted the scene from scratch, yes, I would have made myself wet shooting this green screen footage, but I didn't. And it still turned out pretty good even though it's just a fully recycled scene. To make this out of my desert scene, I don't believe it took longer than an hour. I just changed a few materials, changed a few things, changed the colors, and suddenly I had a whole different scene. Oh, before I forget, of course, my smoke character, the monster here, I of course also had to change his color. But I didn't change the density, I didn't change any of those values, I just changed his color from something sandy to something watery. So now he's like a water character. And that's basically it. I don't want to encourage you to be lazy and recycle your scenes over shooting new footage, but sometimes you don't have another choice. I do. I have a green screen in my garage. I can shoot as much as I want, but if you don't, or if you just want to practice more your Blender skills over shooting new material, I highly encourage you to just recycle your scenes. All you have to care about is that the main lighting always comes from the same direction, which I did mess up a little bit here because I did have a strong sunlight from the right, and I don't anymore in this scene, but you can always get away with a little bit. Not with everything, but with a little bit. So I hope this video was helpful, or at least insightful. If you had a good time the way I had a good time, please like the video, subscribe if you aren't already, and see you in the next video. Toodaloo. Usually in the end of my videos I always throw my hat in the camera, but I just realized I wasn't even wearing it. Let's just pretend I had my hat on. There you go. Toodaloo. Ah, and I missed. Damn it. Okay, cut to black. Bam.